to see you. You're looking well. Welcome to Faux with Lola. Whatever episode we're on. First off, something cool happened. I submitted a voicemail to the Sarah Silverman podcast. You can do that, and then she'll potentially address your question, comment, whatever on her show. And so mine was addressed. So it's episode 46 at 18:35 is the timestamp. If you want to hear it. And just a funny, quick little anecdote about it. You only get like 2 minutes and 10 seconds or something like that to record something. So when the first time I recorded, I was like high energy and like, you know, kind of passionate and you know, detailed all the things about what, and I ran out of time and I didn't realize. And so then the second time it was a lot more measured, and I kind of like repeat myself just because I didn't want to run, like I didn't want the time to run over and it to cut me off. So, but anyway, yeah, so check it out and check out her podcast if you don't. Energetically, astrologically, if you're into that stuff, if you follow it. We've got a lot of light codes hitting us. We've got a lot of upgrades changing to our DNA and to like all of our like our chemical makeup. If you're feeling lethargic, if you're feeling, you know, worn out, if you're feeling kind of confused and you don't know which direction to go, just relax and take care of yourself. Things will be made clear. So no stress. Try to relax. Try to take it in stride. I think I've figured out why as you get older, you grow really bitter and pissed off. When you're younger, you don't even think about being older. And if you do, it's like this like rosy colored glasses. Oh, it'll be nice. Like I'll be settled by then. I'll know how to do things by then. I'll be, you know, all with this very idealistic vibe. No one ever sits you down and tells you exactly what happens and like what the potential impact of that on you could be. One of the main reasons, in my opinion, that as you get older, things start getting, you know, dodgy and you start being angry is that the things that you once held very sacred or that were pivotal things in your life, or, you know, art that you really appreciated, if you live long enough, that will be revealed as something totally different than how you thought it was. A good example, I've always had, because I'm an actor and a writer and blah, 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 I have an affinity for other artists of that nature. When I hear that one that, you know, like, and there's so many nowadays, when I hear someone that I held to be kind of sacred and like a really good performer, their performances spoke to me, it made a deep impact on me, it encouraged me as an artist. Turns out they were just a nightmare to work with, or that they had this horrible, you know, like backbiting, horrible scheme against other cast members or other, you know, crew members or like whatever. It's a little sad because you don't know what to do with all your cherished memories. The entire 90s indie movie renaissance that we had came out of the Weinstein mess. Before that, we had a bunch of big budget, shoot 'em up, lots of testosterone, which those are great movies. But for anybody, you know, like that's not sustainable as an audience member. You have to kind of go to a deeper place in order to have the huge, you know, big blockbuster. That's pretty devastating to know that all of the influential, thought-provoking, kind of well done, well-written projects went through the hands of Harvey Weinstein, who, as we now know, is like hardcore predator. So like, what does that mean? Does that mean that everybody from back in the day, not only did they totally sweep it under the rug if they worked with him, that the industry totally did too? It already doesn't have a very good reputation, the entertainment industry, like the casting couch. Like that's a real thing. I saw it when I was there in LA. And it's not even for a big speaking role. It's just to be a featured extra. That's what's on the table. Boink somebody to get somewhere in the industry. So it's another one is just Saturday Night Live in general. Growing up, SNL was a big deal to me. It's like a stage production being filmed. Set them up, knock them down each week, which takes tremendous talent from the crew and from the writers and from the cast itself. And come to find out, it's one of the most backbiting, vicious, toxic work environments because of that. Because it's so competitive, because it's so, you know, and not for everybody, but allegedly from, you know, sources, that's tough to take. As an offshoot of SNL, Chevy Chase, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, even Chris Kattan, He had a moment behind the scenes weren't what they were on screen. They're talented AF, but at what cost to everyone else around them? I'm just like, and another one, Dan Schneider is the producer of a bunch of Nickelodeon shows who is, by a lot of accounts, a very problematic, predatory dude, and allegedly messed up the psychology of a lot of child actors because of the way he conducted himself on set. I mean, that's nowadays. Back when I was young, he's Ricky, a character in a movie called Better Off Dead that stars John Cusack. It's kind of a cult classic movie. He does such a good job of being a creepy creep in that movie. I guess we know why now. That's another one that just really kind of hit me hard. I was like, oh no, you know, and just Nickelodeon shows in general. My daughter and I loved iCarly. We loved, you know, like we watched it religiously. We went and visited the set one time. We were just like, wow, you know, we were so excited. And come to find out it's like this breeding ground for like all kinds of drama and trauma. And that makes me feel horrible. Did we not know, or did we just ignore it? That's squidgy. So as you get older, you start realizing this stuff. Another thing is all of the things that are trendy and like retro and like kitschy and cool. You were a pioneer of those things, chances are. It's transitioning to the early aughts now, so flare pants and a whale tail hanging out the just Google whale tail if you don't know what a whale tail is. They become retro, and then if you're still into those things, or if you have a t-shirt with something that's, you know, popular now on it, and people are like, oh, like, aren't you a little old to be? Very incensing at times to be treated like you're a creep for something that you pioneered. So that kind of adds to like the general stress of your day, because it reminds you of how old you are and how quickly time went by and you didn't even realize what was happening. It makes you feel like you're obsolete now. Like, we used you, we got what we needed from you, and now you're done. That's a tough feeling, especially when you're like middle-aged. You're not 92, just like 40. Another kind of offshoot is that you get to see where your negligence was, whether it's with your kids, the environment, different ways you could have been more of an activist, steps you could have taken to make the world a better place, really like show up and like stare you in the face. And if you're not aware of it and you really don't care, and it's just kind of about the linear progression of your goals in life, then it's not a big deal. If you're a person who reflects constantly and feels like it's worth it to know where your flaws are so that you can improve, that's really daunting to know that now we're passing on this legacy of something that could be so much better. Not only am I obsolete now, in my heyday when I was important, completely screwed up and didn't do what I needed to do. That's a prevailing message in society, is that if you're past a certain age, just go out to pasture and die, you know? And that's a horrible feeling. We just tend to absorb what's around us and then just kind of spit it out at other people, absorb what we had growing up and then just kind of spit it out on other people. You're so busy adulting, trying to make ends meet or learn what a mortgage is and how you got to deal with that if you enter into one. Or there's so many things that if you aren't taught when you're younger, and like a lot of people aren't, like I don't know anybody that talked about credit card APR, how to rototill a yard, or any of the adulting things. Like that stuff isn't taught in school. When it does catch up to you, you're just like really weighed down with it. Like at times you're just like, I don't want to do this. Like I don't think I should have to, and I don't like it. And then that sense of rebellion makes you feel guilty, so it's just this like never-ending cycle if you don't have a way of combating any of it. But I do. Step one is to never stop learning. Don't just be a know-it-all. Be a learn-it-all. If you're constantly the authority, that means you're at the top. You're at the top of the food chain if you're always the authority. Although it feels good in light of all those other reasons that I just, expressed, because it's an achievement to know a lot about something. Like that's time and devotion. But you don't ever have to stop. Find a subject that interests you and go take a class at your local community college. Go do some research about it. Watch a documentary about it and, fact check and deep dive. And you are limited by no one with all that stuff. I personally think that we're at our best when we're learning, shoving our chips into the ante pile and saying, yeah, and like I'm still here and I'm still learning and I'm still moving on. When you share knowledge, that's something that is a way that you can bond with younger generations too. I've had a lot of really interesting conversations or instances where the knowledge that I have as a zennial. Am I a zennial? 1982, so I'm not a millennial, but I'm not a Gen Z, so I'm a zennial, right? The Oregon Trail generation or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I showed a couple that didn't know how to put air in their tire. I rolled over there and just need to put air in my tire, but they were just standing there like, shit, we got to figure this out. And one of them pulled out their phone. They're like, okay, we'll figure this out. They have all of the information at their fingertips. Why wouldn't they? I just got out, and instead of being like, oh, you crazy kids, you don't know how to put air in your tires. Like, why would they? They don't, I didn't really learn how to do that until I was 2 or 3 years into learning how to drive. Growing up in Wyoming I was 13 when I started to learn how to drive. So I was 16 when I learned how to put air in a tire, but it's a different time and place. So instead of being snarky and rude about it, I asked them if they wanted some help because I knew how to do it. And they were just like, oh yeah. And I just showed them, the simple way, and they're like, wow, thank you. That is really helpful. So I didn't need to come off like the expert. I'm not the expert on putting air in tires. I just needed to relate to them and show them that my knowledge as an older person can benefit them. And that's it. And I felt really good doing it. It felt good to do it. I felt younger doing it. Crazy, right? The second main thing I would do is be active. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that is your body's capacity. I know, like I said, just adulting all day long is fucking exhausting. If you work and then you come home to kids and then you have to get housework done, and it's a time management marathon. And if you don't have it within you to get a workout routine going, that's okay. I would just suggest be active. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Walk. Just go for walks. Walks are amazing. They give you time to think. They give you, they listen to your favorite podcast or whatever and just go for a walk. It's so good. If you stay active, it keeps you young. It keeps you kind of engaged in the world around you. Go to any old folks home or assisted living home, and what are they doing? They're just sitting around, waiting to die, basically. And although middle age is a far cry from, kind of the twilight years, as they like to call them, it's not that far. It goes really quickly. Do something you love to do. Pilates twice a week, anything, just stretching, just keep something moving. Keep it going. Third thing that's really kind of an important step is reject what society tells you about getting older. Just reject it. Think about all of the people throughout history that made waves or were remembered for something that they did. They didn't conform to societal norms. Would that rhyme? Didn't conform to societal norms like a bars. If you think about how you're supposed to be, okay, I went to school, okay, I went to college, okay, I graduated college, okay, now I got my job, okay, now I got my family, okay, now I'm done. That's nuts. And we're the only people that are in control of that narrative and that timeline. There are plenty of people who didn't make it. They didn't make it this far. It's a wonderful tribute to the people who didn't make it. If you launch into your life and really, really go for it, not just phone it in, reach your goals and that's it, and then feel bitter and sad. What's the point of that? Why are we here on Earth? We are as unique as our fingerprints. There are no two alike in the world. Even though we operate in generalities, we're not just one big lump. We are all one in the sense that we all come from the same life force. We're all here experiencing life together, and we are all really just one energy force. That I agree with. But to think that our individuality needs to be completely squashed out in order to propel the human species, that's actually the opposite in my opinion. Who you are, who you get to be every day is such a gift. It's a total gift. Why not embrace that and just go for it? Wear the weird Hawaiian shirt. Who gives a fuck? As you get older, you have every right and every opportunity to reject what other people tell you to do. As a teenager or a kid, you kind of have to some degree. But as an adult, that's one of the beauties. You don't have to buy into anything. You don't have to do what people tell you to do. Sure, you might end up in jail in extreme situations. But you don't have to be anyone that you don't want to be. You don't have to be a button down, stick in the mud by the time you're 62 or by the time you're 45 or whatever. You are limitless and boundless. And I think that's the only way to really consider yourself, so that you don't turn around and go, wow, my life is gone and I didn't really even do anything that I wanted to. I really took into account what they told me to do, but I never really developed myself. I never really pushed boundaries. I never really moved forward. In my last days, I will not have that regret. It is up to you to be the exception to all the rules. It's super worth it, I would say. You just have to not give a fuck. And if someone says something shitty to you, like, oh, well, why are you doing that? Or why? You can just say, I have my reasons. Thanks for your opinion. I have my reasons. Thanks for your opinion. And then walk away and do what the fuck you're going to do anyway. Because nobody has anything to say negatively that doesn't feel that way about themselves. It's all about them and what people told them when they were a weirdo for a minute. So don't take it to heart and just keep doing you. Adults set the tone. So why not set the tone to something open-minded and curious and interesting and fun, especially since we know how to now. And that's probably why it's so easy to get bitter, because it feels like everyone else is ungrateful and telling you you're obsolete, but then looking to you for solutions, relying on you to be the backbone of society. That's actually a pretty good deal, because then it's up to us and we can set each other free. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being here. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notificationer. I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful day.